just want to talk about business, business, business. Whereas it's like, it's okay to get to know more about like the human behind the business. Because usually you like fall in love with them once you actually find out their why.
Right.
Speaking of which, what do you do? What's your business? How do you make money?
Me, I'm a title company owner.
Okay. What is that exactly for
So
people that haven't bought a house?
real estate agents bring us contracts, and then we close the transaction. We're the middleman in between.
Okay.
So we work with all of them. We're the ones that get the money, and then we're the ones that disperse everything so that the buyer gets their home, the keys, and then seller gets their money for their next transaction, whatever they're doing.
Why did you go into this?
It wasn't by choice.
You were forced into it. Tell me
Literally.
the story behind that.
I was 16. My parents bought me a car, took my whole savings account, bought me car insurance, and then said, here's your loan payment. Better deal with it. My best friend's aunt worked at the courthouse in Montgomery County, Maryland, and got us all little part-time jobs, and I never got to leave. I was an abstractor. I was in land records. I didn't know what I was doing, but real quickly I was making $4 an hour cash. I mean, you're talking about a very long time ago. So I worked for one company all the way through high school. I probably worked for him until I was probably almost 20. And then I was recruited by a builder to run and help with their abstracting department. And I didn't love abstracting. I liked it, but I felt like there was more to the whole position. And then at the builder, they let me go into settlements. So within a year, I was the settlement manager there at NVR.
What did you like about that?
I liked that. Well, with that, it was much easier for me because it was a builder. We had our own clientele. So I just had to sway them to use us.
Got it.
So it was keeping your in-house business. It wasn't like I had to go out on the street and find business. I had business. I just had to make sure that they understood that I could do it. I had my own department, so I had a great group of people that I worked with. Everything was in-house. Very easy to do. I lasted there for, I don't know, about 3.5 years, 4 years.
I lasted there.
Before, and the way I say that is because we set up lots of joint ventures. Yeah. So besides NVR, you do Pulte homes. We did Mellon Bank closings. We had a no closing cost program for refinances that was a joint venture with, I don't know, 5, 6 different lenders. Well, one of those picked me up and took me.
Yeah.
Is where it went.
Yeah.
That ultimately was bought by an attorney. And then I lasted with him for 10 years as his vice president.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know, like 22, 23.
What made you want to go out and do your own thing then?
My attorney retired. I had no choice.
Oh.
So it was either jump on somebody else's bandwagon or do what I knew how to do.
Start your own.
Yeah.
What's been the best thing about running your own business?
I don't like it at all.
Yeah. You're like, nothing, absolutely nothing.
I think I like doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
Meaning I like the variety of it.
Okay.
I hate all the paperwork. I hate,
You're a title company.
Right. The title, and it's not even the title part of it. I love that part. Okay. I like doing the closings. I like doing the examinations of title. Yeah. I don't like the licensing, dealing with the state, dealing with the insurance companies, those kind of things. That's a very different side of things. That before I just did the closings. I did the examinations. Those were good. I got to see the people, got to go out and, do the happy hours. I don't get that when I have to sit and deal with the insurance agent all day.
How many years ago did you start your own business?
It is 12.5 years.
So if you go 12.5 years back and you hit the reset button, would you have picked a different path?
No.
So as much as you hate it, you would do it all over again.
Mm-hmm. I would. So if you think about it, so my business started because the economy was crashing. That was 2008, 2009. Yeah. It took me probably a year to kind of like figure out that I'm going to have to do this. And that's really how long it took because I didn't want to do it. I had formed the company. I had set up all the, the LLC. And then I had somebody immediately want to buy it because it had licenses. And I thought, well, do I just sell it for like $20,000 and just call it a day? Yeah. Or do I just go ahead and go forward? And yeah, I wouldn't change that. I would still go forward.
What's something that you wish people knew about your industry?
There's a lot of shade in my industry. There always has been.
A lot of what?
Shade.
Okay.
People are, I think the consumer is my problem, meaning that title companies don't get to the consumer first. It's always the realtor. It's always the loan officer. And they push who they know. Mm-hmm. It's not always to the consumer's benefit.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
How do you think, what's the best way to change that? Like if you had a magic wand and you could change that.
So I'm actually a HOP leader, which is a homeowners outreach program leader with ALTA. ALTA is American Land Title Association.
Not ALTA, the makeup store.
Not that one. ALTA with an A, so it's
Okay.
American Land Title Association. And basically with that, it's when the first class I went to there, which is in DC, we go everywhere. So I've been to New Orleans, I've been to Minneapolis, Denver, they go all over the place because it's title companies from all over because we go through the same thing. I think the average was 5% of consumers know a title company, but everything else comes from a realtor or a loan officer. So the consumer doesn't even know what we do. They don't know what the products we sell. And that's why I'm such an advocate for the first-time home buyers classes that I teach, because I teach at least twice a month all over.
That's smart. So you're getting in the game and you're educating, so that way when somebody is looking for selling their home, then they're going to be thinking, oh, hey, I know somebody, versus waiting for the agent to say, oh, hey, let me connect you to my title.
Yeah, because technically when CFPB came in, when RESPA came in with all of the rules, is what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. We are under just a strict tight belt. Those rules are to protect the consumer. Mm-hmm. Everybody is supposed to give you 3 options. Mm-hmm. 3 loan officers, 3 realtors, 3 title companies to make sure you are getting what you are shopping for. Yeah. That doesn't happen.
I was going to say, I know for a fact that doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. So, yeah. And I don't think a title company is supposed to be telling you that either. That's one of those things. Not many people are going to talk about that. Yeah. But yeah, I see a lot of it.
Why is that bad? Why would it be bad that a title company is saying that?
Because if a title company has a joint venture with a real estate agent, who's making the money? Oh, yeah. Who's paying the money? It's still the consumer ultimately paying the cost. Yeah. Do fees have to be up because everybody else has their hand in the pot? Or do you go with a boutique title company that's only there to support themselves? Yeah. I mean, this has supported my family. My family works for me.
Yeah. Tell me about your family.
My family? I was a teen mom. So I had my son when I was 17. Mind you, again, I'd already been pushed out to go work. So my mom will tell you I was on my own by the time I was 5. I had run away from home when I was 3.5. So I was very independent, very strong-willed.
You ran away from home when you were 3.5?
Yeah, I hitchhiked down Veers Mill Road in Rockville, Maryland, and got in a car with a couple and made them drive me to my grandmother's house.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, my mother was in big trouble for that one. But she left me at a birthday party I didn't want to be at.
And you said, sayonara.
See you later. And I did.
I don't know what I would do with a 4-year-old.
That's what I'm saying. So luckily I was picked up by a family in their little station wagon. Mind you, you're talking like 1973, 74. Yeah. They lived right around the corner from my grandmother. Mm-hmm. And they took me there and dropped me off. And my grandmother was ready to kill her. Yeah, but sure that happened. But again, so it wasn't, my brothers are much younger than I am. Yeah. So I have a brother that's 5 years younger, 6 years, and then 13 years younger than me. My youngest brother is severely mentally and disabled. He's in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. So I'm at like a 2 to 3 year old level. So it takes a lot of time. The brother that's a little bit older than him had learning disabilities. So he was homeschooled. So Shane and I, the older ones, were pretty much on our own. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So needless to say, I had my son when I was 17. I married my high school sweetheart. We've been married for 35 years. Wow. We had 2 more kids. I have 2 daughters. So now my kids are 30, 32, and 36. We have 5 grandchildren, and 6th one will be here in May. I grew up in Damascus, Maryland, which is very farm, rural, FFA kind of stuff. So we always just didn't want to live like in a subdivision where my neighbor's right next to me. So when we moved to Luckett's, because that's where I live, we bought about 4 acres, built a home, and that was out of the generosity of somebody that I knew. And we lived there for almost 25 years. And then we decided we needed more land. So we bought a place on the other side of Luckett's. I mean, literally, we could look across the street. We bought about 12 acres. And it was time. So that's when we got our cows and the animals. My son and his family live with us because we have a mother-in-law suite. So they have their own apartment on my house. So I have the 2 grandsons that live with me as well.
Now, if you couldn't be doing this title company that is supporting your whole family, your whole family is working it and supporting your family, what would you do?
I don't know what I would do because I often think about all these jobs and I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it. Just like I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't enjoy it. Yeah. I'm severe ADD. I was tested when I was 40. So I have to have something with variety. I have to have something that I keep moving. Yeah. My brain does not shut off.
So this is good.
This is good.
Keep you.
And I think that's why it's kept my attention for so long.
Yeah.
No one title has ever been the same. No one title will ever be the same. It can't be.
Yeah.
Just from the history of the land.
How have you grown your business?
So my business has been hard. I came with business. I never had a business plan. I never had a budget. It was pretty much, here's my savings account. Let's start the business and let's roll. The first year in business, which I was only in business for 6 months, I made $1 million through the business. Scared the crap out of me because it is not the kind of money that I was expecting. My accountant didn't expect it. You know what I mean? Like this was a whole...
How do you make $1 million in your first year of business?
Because I had a ton of clients. They came with me. My attorney basically retired and handed me a book of business.
Oh, okay.
So it was a book of business. The hardest thing back then was finding office space because I was like, I have to have an office that's turnkey.
Yeah. First of all, so you're the one that you were working with didn't sell you the business. Mm-hmm. He handed it to you.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is, but that right there is a mistake. Like,
trust me, I've been told I have the golden horseshoe. It is one of those things.
Sorry, I was just like, wait a second.
Yes, he didn't want to do it anymore. He's retired. He lives over in Maryland. I still talk to him all the time. He's a Virginia attorney.
Wow.
So I can go to him for advice. He just doesn't practice very much. But at that point, he had already reestablished his business 2 or 3 times. As the market changed, you have to change with the market.
Okay.
You have to know what your audience is. So he had already done that 2 or 3 times. He said, I'm done.
Yeah.
I mean, he was probably, at that point, probably about 61, 62.
Yeah.
He was good.
Yeah.
So he said, let's just go ahead and grow it. And that's what he did. He just handed me a book of business. We went with it and you went. But again, you're changing with your audience. So back then it was a refi market, which were Band-Aid loans, which a lot of people don't even know what that is. But that's like a 228 where it's fixed for 2 years. And then you have a prepayment penalty if you pay it off early. And then it turns into an adjustable rate. But these were for people who had a lot of debt. Roll your credit cards in, roll your car in, get it into one payment, get your credit cleaned up, then go refinance your house. So these loans had purpose. Then we went into like the negative amortization loans where everybody was, let's just pay interest and everything else was tacked to the back of the loan. That's what that economy was back then. I closed a lot of those bad loans. I did because that's what people wanted.
How does it make you feel? Is it kind of like that's what it is, or do you feel like...
I know how I do a closing, and I know how I would explain the documents to you.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody did that back then. I think it was really just sign here, like the Vanna White is what we call it. Sign here on the paper, and I'm going to notarize your signature. Yeah. That's not my job. My job is to explain those documents to you to make sure you understand what you're getting.
Yeah.
Back then, being so long ago, you would come to the table and not even know what kind of loan you got.
Yeah.
Here's the papers that are provided to you, whether you take your house with this loan or not.
Yeah. Take it, but as long as you understand what you're getting.
Right, exactly. Every loan has its purpose. Every loan can be done correctly if you know how to work the loan.
Yeah.
Even today, if I'm closing a 30-year fixed loan, why are you going to just go 30 years and pay the same payment? Mm-hmm. Why would you ever do that? If you pay one extra payment a year of just principal, you're knocking off almost 8 years of interest. Oh. So those are things that I can tell you. It's sitting at a table. Am I going to tell you that before? Probably not. You're not going to remember that. But if I'm sitting there showing you the note, showing you an amortization schedule saying this are 8 pages of how many payments you're going to be making, one at a time per month for the whole 30 years. But you're going to wipe out 2 pages of this of interest if you just do it what I just said. Mm-hmm. A loan officer probably doesn't tell you that. They may, depending on how
Why wouldn't they?
Because you'd be surprised how many people don't know that when they sit at the table.
Yeah.
And if I saw differently, I would tell you otherwise.
What's one of the hardest personal challenges you had to go through?
The first several loans that I closed. Now, again, I was an abstractor. That means I was in the courthouse. I was doing the paperwork. It's almost like putting a report together as far as what happened to the land. Mm-hmm. When you get behind a closing table and you're sitting with an individual, one of the first loans I had to close, the lady was legally blind. Yes, she can close on a loan. I can't touch her. No one else can touch her. She's got to sign the papers. Like I can point and say, here's where the line is after you've explained it to it. Back then, people were paying a lot of money in points. The max they could be charged was about 8 points. And that's a lot. I remember sitting with that couple, and I remember it was a DC property. They were elderly. She was legally blind. I cried. I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I can't do this. This is not for me.
Why?
Because I felt that loan officer really had ripped them off.
Got it.
And I'm the one that's sitting there having them sign it. Not him. It was me. And I remember the loan officer, but yeah. That was a
Is he
hard
still
one.
in business? I'm not going to ask you to name names,
Yeah,
but okay.
he's still in business. And again, the market's very different, and loans are done very differently because they did create the CFPB, the Consumer Finance. So it is something that people are more protected now. Back then, they were not. There wasn't anybody watching that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was one of the that was a really pivotal. I mean, that was 90, probably 91, 92.
Yeah.
And I will never forget that one. I will also never forget the time where I had a gentleman keep coming back to my office every day. Close your loan, and all he wants to do is argue the mortgage insurance. And by the 6th day, I was so angry. I took him in the closing room, and I took his file. Now, mind you, this was a lot of paper back then. A lot of paper. I took that file, and I said, you either leave this alone and don't ask me any more questions, because, again, I'm not your mortgage insurance company. You got to remember my role. And I always try to stay in my lane. I threw that file across that room, and his papers went everywhere. I said, that's what I think of it now. We are not friends. We have never been friends. The worst part about that, he was buying this property from his mother's estate. Oh, wow. So he's fighting with his brothers and sisters over the mortgage insurance. It had nothing to do with me. Yeah. But I was fed up. No one had explained to him what kind of loan he was getting, what this mortgage insurance meant, when it would fall off, if it was ever going to fall off. You know, you can always go and refinance and get rid of this loan. Yeah. Things can be done. So I was irritated.
Education is what it sounds like in
absolutely.
The industry.
Absolutely.
Do you think that's changed over the last 20-ish years?
I think certain things of it have. I still think for our industry, meaning title, people don't know what we do. They still don't know our product, even though our product's been around forever. You know, lender's title insurance came about in the 1950s. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows why a lender requires you to buy them a policy. Yeah. Or what it actually, protects. I will tell you, I had a case literally a couple weeks ago. A gentleman came to me, and he's paying in cash. His property that he's buying is a little triangle. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's 2 acres, but it's a little triangle if you look at it on a map. It sits in the middle of a racetrack. The racetrack owns all this property around it. Okay,
oh, that's interesting.
The road is way over here. This little triangle has no driveway to that road, so it automatically doesn't have access. Yeah. Well, owner's title insurance protects you for access. Yeah. We want to make sure that you're not landlocked. Yeah. So he was already negotiating with the racetrack to build a road. He ended up being a surveyor, which I felt a lot better with once I literally started talking to him about this. He was a surveyor. He was able to do a boundary search. He was able to negotiate with the neighbors. The problem is you haven't settled. You don't own the house. So you're negotiating with people that has no bearing. Yeah. He was buying a bank-owned property. The bank wasn't going to, they don't care. They just want this asset off their books. Yeah. Just move the house. So I had to talk him into buying the property. You're going to get owner's title insurance, but you will not have access coverage. Like there's going to be clauses in here that says, I'm not guaranteeing you can get to the road. Mm-hmm. You can come back and we can amend that once the road is all done. But literally that was 2 weeks. The realtor did not know what to do. She was like, I'm at a loss. What do I do? I said, well, I'm going to have to get on the phone with him. Like we're going to have to do some conference call. He's going to have to know you can have what you think you're going to get, but there's certain things you can't until you own the property. Yeah. So they're building a road.
Have you thought about, well, how are you currently doing your marketing? I know you got a big book of business.
So when I hit, cancer hit me about 7 years ago, that put me back really far. I've lost a lot of business. I've lost a lot of friends. A lot of people have walked away from me because of that. Because with thyroid cancer, it affects so many of my bodily functions, meaning I don't have an immune system. This is not my regular voice. I don't grow eyebrows. I have anxiety. I have all the weird things that come along. I have it based on the type of cancer I had. So when my thyroid was removed, they removed a lot of the lymph nodes in the front. I'm metastatic, so it's already in my lymph nodes. That's not going to change. So in saying that, I would agree to do things and I couldn't do it. I couldn't. Like physically, I couldn't do it. I retreated into a shell. I couldn't get off a couch for 3 months because I couldn't lift my head. It took such a toll on just my physical being. I didn't think I was going to make it. Meaning not that I wasn't going to live, meaning that I couldn't function on what I was normally functioning at. Yeah. And that was the hard one. That was a hard one to swallow. I still don't do networking anymore. I just can't. I can't be in a room with a lot of people because I just have a breakdown. Not by choice, because I used to love to see people, and I do love people, but physically I can't do it yet.
So
that gets better with time.
is kind of out of the picture
Mm-hmm.
for the most part.
So I have title agents that work with me that go out, and I know a lot of, just for how many years I've been in the business, I know a lot of people.
Something if you're not doing it yet, I think you should do video content. You really should. You've got a lot of stories.
I have a ton of stories, and being on the camera really scares me.
So, are you scared right now?
Am I scared right now? I think I've kind of put that behind me for right now, because I was looking forward to this, because I do like to conquer my fears and I like to just get over these things. So would I say I'm, maybe I'm a little anxious, but no, I'm not scared of it now. I just...
You'd be really good on video because you've got such passion and knowledge. And even if, you've got a cell phone, even if you set it up and you get a friend to have a conversation with you, or you just start telling stories and, like you have a list of content to go through. I hate networking. I love people, hate networking. I find it disingenuous a lot of times, at least the way a lot of things are set up. I spend a lot of time away, and I've measured. I'm all about numbers. I've measured how many hours I spend towards networking versus like what happens in return. It's how I started my business. Like, I'm not going to try to say that networking doesn't have its place. It definitely had its place, but then you start to see the ROI after so much time. And I found doing content, video content, is a much better ROI for me for the last 7-8 years of my business than at the very beginning when networking was better for me. But it's something I think you should consider doing.
Yeah, I felt like I was the same way. Networking was like the key. You go to these little meetings, you meet all these people. As soon as I got sick, all those people were gone. That was real quick.
Tell me about that.
That was, I think that was really just heartbreaking to me, that no one really cared that I had cancer. No one really came to visit. There wasn't any, my clients that knew me for a long time did and have stuck with me, but very few have. Very few have. I feel now that it's almost like I have to regrow myself again. Like I said, it's always ups and downs in our business as far as the market, what's going on. Yeah. The interest rate hit 8 yesterday. Yeah, that's not a great thing. Yeah. When I took my first loan, it was 10%. I'm not going to lie, I wanted my house. I was going to take it at 10%. I was very happy to have it at 10. But again, I have people that work with me who are younger who's like, oh my God, 8%. Like they're used to seeing 2 and 3 and 4. Yeah. 8's been here. 70s were an 18%. These are not.
And this is what I refute with, though. And you already know what I'm going to say. What am I going to say?
I don't know. Okay. Because there's a lot of ways to refute that.
How much were the houses in the 70s and 80s? Like,
my first home was $79,000, and I did an FHA loan at 10%.
So the numbers are much different than
$700,000. Absolutely. It's very hard for me to stomach how anybody in the political world, any of the banks, any of the big players, as I call them, can see how an average person, especially like the younger ones who, my goal is to own a home. Well, guess what? Wait till you're 40, because that's about how long it's going to take you to do it now under these numbers. Unfortunately. They just don't see the common person and what they can afford and what they can't.
Yeah. Yeah, and then people are like, yeah, but you weren't making as much then. It's like, no.
It's still not on scale. It will never be on scale.
It has not gone up that much compared to the housing prices for that to make sense.
That's correct. It's not. It's not in comparison.
Yeah, it's a tough situation that our economy is in, but people are pulling through and they're figuring out ways to make it happen, but it's still disheartening.
I think the biggest thing is loans are temporary.
Exactly.
Take it, get in.
That's right.
When the market changes, you go refinance that thing.
That's
but
right.
you got to
change the home price.
You can't change the home
so
price.
If
the
it's
sellers
now, get it.
And the inventory is low. Regardless, the inventory is very low. Sellers don't want to sell because they locked in at 2 and 3%. Why would you sell that and then go buy something else unless you really, really had to? This is a transit area. You've got the government here. You've got,
or if you got cash.
So there's a lot of cash flow here. Other markets are not like that. Yeah. I used to be licensed from Richmond all the way up through Jersey. Yeah. Different markets, different. It's just different. Yeah. Very, very different. Yes.
So if you could share one tip with somebody who's listening, who is a business owner, they're looking to build their business, they've got
grow some tough skin.
I was going to say they've got the bright eyes.
Yes, I think it is always, it's going to be so great. It's going to be, I'm going to do what I love and I'm going to make money and everybody benefits. It's all this freedom no, it's a lot of responsibility. You got to grow your tough skin and just be used to it. I remember my first year in business here, I was attacked by an attorney here, which again, I will not name names, but
not physically, verbally attacked?
Verbally attacked. Okay. The word goes around. Let's say title is very small. Yeah. I was the first woman-owned title company in Virginia when I did this, and I'm not an attorney. So I bothered an awful lot of people because I don't hold my degree.
Who is she? Right?
Pretty much. Who does she think she is?
Yeah.
Basically is what I got. Yeah, you got to grow some tough skin really quickly. And I don't think that people even look at that aspect of business, that it's you.
And how did you deal with that? Did you have support? Did you say F it?
Yeah, I'm pretty much, I don't really give a shit.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
if you're running
I'm one of those.
3.5 years old, then I'm...
Yeah, I am definitely one of those. I don't care. I don't care what you think. Yeah. I know that I do business well. I know that the end result for me is I want those people happy when they get their new home. I want them happy with the financing that they get. I want them to walk away with a good experience. Yeah. The whole home buying process is not always good. You know, you've looked at 25 houses. You've had 4 contracts fall through because somebody beat you out on an offer. You know, timing, you can't get your lease on your apartment while you're waiting for this home. All these little things happen that are kind of miserable until you get to the table with us.
When they get to the table with you, though, they're like, oh, thank God
sometimes, this is hard to say too, because I've seen it both ways where they're coming in tears, like, oh my God, this just wiped out my savings account to do this. And, I wasn't expecting this is an extra $2,000 at the table. It depends on who your market is and who your clientele is. I like the first-time home buyers. I like helping them get in. I like giving them the tips to how to do this. I've owned a home since I was 19. And I wouldn't change that either.
So next time you go to the table, have somebody in your office set up a phone. Seriously, don't show the person's face, right? It's just mic yourself up so you sound good and it's capturing your audio. And take that, record that whole thing. All of your tips. Take those little bad boys, have somebody else splice them up into little 30-second tips, of you doing it in the real world, because I can only imagine how much education and guidance that you provide these first-time home buyers.
I like to think I do. So, yes.
With that fiery passion that I see.
I still have that. I think that's the sadder part, is that I still have that. I still want to do this. Cancer wasn't going to stop me during this. It just slowed me down a little bit.
It's just funny because we started this conversation and I said, what's the best thing about owning your business? You're like, nothing. I hate it.
I think about, again, just, God, you have the employees to deal with. You have the budget to deal with. Of all these things, that's not what I saw my business as. I wanted to do. I didn't want to do that part.
You wanted to bake the cookies. You didn't want to run the bakery.
That's pretty much it. So I think there's a big difference, but you have to do it all. Yeah. So you have to figure out how to do that. My kids were still little back then too. You still had to be a parent.
5 years old. You can come over here and help with
Pretty much. My daughter works for me. My nephew works for me.
Yeah.
I own 2 other businesses that, are in Loudon.
What other businesses do you own?
I own Natural Lawn of America.
What is it?
Natural Lawn of America.
Okay.
My husband, my son, and both my son-in-laws work there now. So, yeah, that's been in business for 30 years.
Wow.
So that just runs itself. I don't have to do much about that.
So you've got that entrepreneurial bug.
I never thought of that as being an entrepreneurial spirit.
No?
I really, and I guess my definition of, I don't know. For an entrepreneur, I feel like, you come up with your own ideas and you come up with your own stuff and your own products. I'm running a title company. There's other title companies. We're running a lawn care business. There's other lawn care businesses. Yeah. So I don't know. I've never thought of it.
You're thinking of like inventing the next like Uber.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, no, I think it comes in all shapes and sizes.
I think it does now. I mean, but it took a long time to figure that one out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
I would like to retire.
You're not going to.
I don't see retirement in my future though. Like it is definitely one of those things. I have to be busy. I have to do something. Yeah. So, yeah. We have 2 baby calves that have to be halter trained. Somebody's going to have to do it.
Don't even know what that is.
So I have the Highland cows, the little fluffy ones that every photographer wants.
Those little, oh my gosh.
Everybody wants to come and basically take pictures of my cows.
Them, yeah.
And I was like, people don't understand. They're friendly and domesticated, don't get me wrong. But I don't go out there and rope them and drag them in. Yeah. I let them be. Yeah. Yes, they're treat driven. Yeah. So, but they're a big part of my little world these days. But again, when you have babies, people want, the photographers more or less, want them to lay on this little blanket and have the baby lay on the little cow. And that's not these kind of cows. Yeah. My cows jump and play. That's what the Highland does. They're very active. Yes, the babies will sleep for a little bit, but I don't take them from their moms either. They're not bottle fed.
Oh, good.
We tried to bottle feed one and he didn't make it because there was something definitely wrong. That broke my heart this year too. But so we have the 2 little girls now, Matilda and Stormy. And they are booked to do some photography of some way, but I told him, I said, you know, you're going to get what you get. They're not, I can't, they're animals.
They have insurance.
And that's exactly, I said,
most photographers don't have
insurance. That was a mandated, like, you got to have your own insurance coming out here because I'm not covering this if something goes bad. But, you know, they're animals.
Yeah.
There's no telling what's going to happen. Yeah. I can guarantee you my pit bull will sit still long enough for you to take a picture of her.
The Highland jumping
The Highland, I'm not sure about. I'm just not sure about. But everybody does want a photographer. The whole photography setup of either going to do the black and white portraits of their faces because they're gorgeous, or you take these little calves and you're just going to lay them there. And I said, that just doesn't happen. Like,
I like the videos where they're like, their faces will come in close to yours and they do like the little snuggles.
I can honestly tell you, I only have one that'll let you snuggle, and it's not near her face.
Yeah.
And her horns, I kid you not, I mean, they're about this big. So it's not, and again, I think people look at them, and my neighbors thought he was like, did you just get dinosaur cows? Like, this is really a thing. And I'm like, no, they're not dinosaurs. This is a very old breed. The other thing is, they're always scared that I have like 5 or 6 bulls because they all have horns.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell the females have the rounded horns and the bulls go straight out. So it's not like they're stabbing you. Do you know what I mean? Like with these horns.
No, but they could definitely play with you.
Yeah, it's called battering, and they just hit you with these things, and it does not feel good to be smacked by a cow's horns. I will tell you. But yeah, they will let you know when they're not happy. But you know, I like they're my hobby. I love to paint. I've been doing that. You know, I used to do my little painted rocks. I've done all those kind of things. I love that kind of stuff. I love doing stuff with my grandkids. Like tonight is flag football for the 6-year-old. So
where do you guys practice at?
Tonight, I think it's at Lee.
Okay.
But it's
I
kind of,
coach out.
I was going to say, because we're at Freedom or Robinson, like we're all over.
It rains.
It's exactly. His last game, I think, is tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Okay.
So.
What is it? Is it the?
It's the flag, yeah.
That's not the last game. You got 2 more.
I got 2 more?
I know,
okay.
on the coach.
He's on the Bills. That's the team he's on.
Oh, you guys are the only ones that beat us.
We haven't won but 1 game. So.
Wait, who's your coach?
Steven.
What's last name?
I don't know that part.
Warren?
Maybe. I don't know. My son's more involved than I am.
You guys only won 1 game?
Yeah.
Was it the first one?
I don't know. There was a couple in.
Oh, okay.
But so for my grandson, it's only his 2nd season.
Oh, he's 6. We're 8 years old.
So you guys probably are after us then. So we basically, this is only his 2nd season.
Okay.
The first season, the spring stuff, he didn't know what was going on. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Now he has decided that he'll play any position as long as you're not tackling him. So he's really determined that he wants to be a kicker in the NFL.
Okay.
Brock is the tiniest 6-year-old you've ever going to see.
It's okay.
I mean, but he loves it.
You can do it.
Oh yes. So he's very fast. He loves it. Very excited about the football now.
Doesn't that just make your heart so happy?
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah, there's something about watching them play out on that field.
But I have the same. Like my granddaughter does the little dance, and all my kids played sports. She does her little dance, and it just makes her happy. So it makes me happy. I could just sit and watch.
Yeah.
Even though I never did it.
Yeah. No, there's something special about that. Anything else you would like to share, or that's on your heart, or a special message that you've got?
Not really. I think about how long we've lived in Loudon, and I do still love it here. So I don't think we're going to go anywhere anytime soon. I always wanted my kids to take over the businesses and just grow with that. I don't know that any of them are ever going to do that now that I know how to run a business and what needs to happen. So I hope I train them well enough to do that. So if they ever see anything like this, that they know that was always the goal. But I will tell you, I am just happy that everything I've done, one, being a teen mom and making it all the way through here and doing as well as I have done, cycle's broken. I don't have to worry about them. All of my kids are college educated and all paid for. And that was, I achieved all my goals, I guess is the best way to put it. Now, for this period of my life, even though I'm on the younger side, the goals have to be reset. And they have to be more about me now and what's going to happen. I
love that. Can I ask you to promise me for one thing? I'll say it first, and then you can decide if you want to. Please, no matter what you do with your business, don't just, unless it's one of your children or grandchildren, don't just give the business away. Sell it. Right?
No, I won't be giving it away unless it's
Okay.
the children. Unless it's the children. Yes.
Sell the business for, let's just pretend like it was $250,000. I probably could go for more, but 250. Take that money, and then they could either create their own business if you want to like gift it, or it's just going to be a nice little nest egg, you know, to sit there and play with. Don't just give it away.
No, I won't be giving it away. I've given a lot away over the years, so that's not the
There's
plan.
value there.
There is value, and it will take care of them as well. So I know that now.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Ellen Show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I enjoyed it.